Alrighty, Tuesday, January 15th, we're going to try doing this class again. You'll notice the screen set up a little bit differently because you'll figure out why here in just a moment. But all I'm doing is explaining how our speeches things goes. So you have some idea of what we're going to be doing this week and going into next week and stuff like that. Grades and B points have been updated over yonder. New book report, you're going to need it by Tuesday. That's T for Tuesday. And then we have the Charger Challenge. Here's my current list of people. We go with them because they're going to represent us and hopefully bring home the trophy again. And then we have homework, which will come due Thursday. And then now, our speechy stuff. All right. If you have questions as far as the speech goes, write them down because I'm going to be ignoring you until I get through all this information and try and help you out a little bit. With our speeches, you are going to be, well, I would say speaking for 45 seconds, but for some of you, it'll just be awkwardly crying in front of us for 45 seconds. So you are going to be up in front of the class for 45 seconds. No less than 45 seconds, no more than 45 seconds. Exactly 45 seconds. Preferably speaking, but that's not necessarily guaranteed. Whenever you give a speech for me, you're always going to be standing up on this green chair. All speeches from this one all the way through the ones that are for grades at the end are given standing up on top of the green chair for a couple of reasons. One, it's horrible and frightening, which makes you a better person. Two, it entertains me, and that's really important. Three, technically it makes you a better speaker. One, because you can see everybody while you're up here. It makes it much easier to give eye contact, and they can see you while you're speaking. Plus, you have to give speeches in 8th grade and in high school, and probably as adults also, if you're fine, you're not on there. And so, eventually, when you move on to give speeches, you get to be behind a podium with your feet on the ground, and it's going to feel like you have easy mode on after you get a chance to go through this. In 8th grade, when you give speeches and you're in a room with like the Globetrotters and stars, and they're freaking out, and you're like, why are you freaking out? You get to be behind a podium with note cards. They're like, doesn't everybody? Like, no, that crazy man last year, maybe no note cards, I had to stand on a chair. They're like, oh my God, you're a god. And you're like, I know. So that's pretty much what's going to happen. So you're going to be, see, apparently it's not dead. So that's what you're going to do, all of your speaking up here on the green chair. But Mr. Brovicast, what if we fall? Then you hit the ground. That's called gravity. One of the easiest things to figure out. So for this particular speech, you're going to be standing up here for 45 seconds. There'll be a timer going behind you. If you end up stopping before 45 seconds, you just stand here awkwardly for the rest of it. If you speak for all of 5 seconds and then stop, you're going to have 40 seconds of just staring at us while we try hard not to giggle at you. And so it becomes a bit of a challenge as it goes along. For those of you who do choose to speak, what is it you're talking about? A story. Your choice of whatever story you want to tell us. It can be make-believe, it can be true, it can be about you, it can be about other people. My whole goal is to give you something to speak about for those 45 seconds. And I figure a story is the easiest way to do it. Are we supposed to make it up? Probably, since I gave you no time to prepare. So the idea is that you're just going to stand up here and talk and tell a story about whatever it is you want to tell a story about. With that, the thing I'm grading you on is going to be basically 3 parts. 1, not dying. I've yet to have a kid fail that part of it. So while you're up here, you might freak out, you might cry in front of us, it's happened, but your goal is just to get through, that's like one of the stories we're going to get to, but you're going to get through 45 seconds of standing in front of us. 2, no hands in pockets is one of the things we're going to start working on because we have to baby step our way into the big speeches. For this first one, the big thing I'll yell at you for is anytime your hands go into your pockets. I will stop your speech and yell, pockets! You have to bring your hands out of your pockets. If you have a hoodie, congratulations. You've challenged yourself even more because now there's a pocket right there. And when you get nervous and your hands like like little crabs, they're going to scramble right into there. And when they go in, I'm once again going to stop your speech and yell, pockets! And you have to bring your hands out. If it bothers you, you can just awkwardly put your hands out to the side in a T-pose for your entire speech. Fine with me. If you would rather just put your hands in like awkward spots while you speak, also fine with me. Just the goal is, one, if you're a hand talker, that's also fine. I'm a bit of a hand talker. Just try not to be distracting, like do it for no reason whatsoever in your speech. That'll become more of an issue. But if you just talk with hands, I understand. So pockets is the second thing we're going to work on. It's still going to be a long time before I call on you, so you can always jot down your questions or just have a good memory. 3, you cannot rock or wiggle on the chair during the speech. Either forward and backwards or side to side because of that whole gravity thing. And because I've learned from kids in the past, yippee, yippee, yeah! And then brains, bring in a mop and work on carpet is disgusting. So because of that, if I see you starting to go back and forth, I'm going to yell, rocking! And that does not mean like, woohoo, you're nailed. It means stop going back and forth. And so we'll have to yell rocking at you. Those are the 3 main things we're going to work on. Now, to add a challenge to your speech, we're going to give you a word. Well, I'm going to give you a word that you have to use during your speech. This word is going to be a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, some word that you're going to know that you have to say at some point during your speech. Like pickle, or dinosaur, or jump, or speedy, or something like that. And you just have to make sure at some point you say this word. Does our whole speech have to be about that word? No. You just have to say the word at some point. If you can get through your speech and no kid figures out what word I gave you, you get B points. If the kids in the audience figure out your word, they get B points. That's why you have a guessing sheet in front of you. Because you're going to write down the person's name, and then you get to guess one word that you think was the word I gave them. If you get it correct, you get a point. Well, you'll see how the scale works in a moment. So hopefully that helps you out a wee bit. Let's see. Oh. You cannot cheat with your word. If I give you the word dinosaur, you can't whisper the word so that no one can hear you during your speech. And go, one day I was walking down the street and I was like, oh my God, look, there's a giant, no one knew what it was. And I was like, what was like, well, I said the word. If we can't hear you, it's not going to count. And by we, I mean me. If I can't hear you, you're going to be out of luck. Also, you cannot put your word into a list. That is also cheating. You cannot go, I walked into my house and I saw a dog, a kitten, a dinosaur, a chair, a desk, and like, I named 30 things. Yeah, good luck. It doesn't work that way. As soon as you put your word into a list, I'm going to say, your word is in a list, you have to use it again. If you don't, you automatically lose the points. So you cannot. Now, you can have a list if your word's not in it. You can say, one day I saw a dinosaur and he started eating pickles and vegetables and pizza, and then you can list a whole bunch of other things. That's fine with me. You just can't put your word into the list. 45 seconds, got that. During the speech, audience members don't talk because it's distracting to them. I'll charge you the points. It seems basic, but here's part of the issues. Kids are going to freak out up here. When they do, they're going to make it real hard for you not to talk. And they're like, I mean, like, everyone hates math, right? You hate math. Come on, you hate it. Come on. You're just like, because if they get you to talk, I charge you points. So you have to just sit there and awkwardly stare at them. The other one will be when they just stop talking after 15 seconds and stare at us. You're going to want, because your heart is going to open up, and you're going to see them just going like, and it's like, it's okay. Don't talk. You just sit there like, you can do it. I mean, without the saying if you can do it, he's like, I mean, not like, yeah, that's don't like threaten to punch them, but just like encourage them to don't talk, but it'll be awkward. It'll be a challenge for all of us. And you'll find out, if you get the word correct, don't jump out of your seat and celebrate. It's annoying. But we're going to get there. We're like, you're the one kid that's like, dinosaur, yeah! Get in your feet! And then we're going to have to be mean to you. So calm down. You're a winner. I'm so proud of you on that one. All right. Then, here's how the whole guessing of the points things, I told you it's going to be well before we get to the questions. You're going to learn raising his hand to stretch. If you give your speech and no one figures out your word, so 0 correct guesses, speaker gets 3 points. That means no one guesses it. If anybody guesses your word, you get no points. You have to give a perfect speech to get anything. If one person guesses your word, they get the points instead. So if I get done and Brendan's the only one that figures out the word was dinosaur, he gets 3 points, I get no points. If 2 to 3 people figure it out, they each get 2 points. If it's 4 to 6 people, they each get 1 point. 7, 8, or 9, no one gets points because it was not a very good speech. And that's going to happen sometimes, and you're like, one day there was a dinosaur, and he had a basketball with a hoop, and there was a dinosaur. And you're like, well, it's one of those 3 words. And so It's like it's a 1 in 3 shot. So because of that, it's not a strong speech, so you're going to end up not getting as many. Once you get double digits people getting your word correct, then you're going to start losing points. Up to a maximum of 3 points. If you don't say your word, which will happen sometimes because you'll get distracted and then forget to say it, you're also going to lose the 3 points. Where you get to the 45 stage, you're like, I forgot to say my word. You're like, yeah, I know. So we get to charge you the 3 points on that one too. So if you forget to say your word, or everyone gets it, or you just sit there and stare at us, that would call. Worst case scenario. Ultimate worst case scenario, you cry in front of us for 45 seconds, say no word, you lose 3 B points.
What if you fall and break your head?
Never happened.
No, break your neck.
That'd probably be the absolute worst. Then you're dead, so, I mean, you're fine. As far as the surviving part of it, you just, I mean, which has happened, which is the story we're going to give in just a moment.
Wait.
But that gives you an idea of how that's going to work.
Wait, you said that nobody has died doing this.
Wait, was that calling? No, I wasn't. I was ignoring you guys, silly children. When this screen comes up, this is my no more talking screen. This screen, when the kids are up here, I don't care, because we're going to be... If speeches, you're going to be inspired to talk. It's going to happen. I'm fine with that. This one, if this screen is up and a person is on the chair, you can't talk. Now, I'm not going to warn you because that takes the fun out of it for me. What I'm going to do is when it's on that screen and I'm ready to go, I'm just going to low-key click and bring it up to there and then just look up and see who's talking and then start charging you points. Why? Because I'm a horrible person. I'm just telling you now that's what's going to happen when I get to be mean to you because it makes it fun for me. And then this is how the timer works. You'll see the timer behind you. Yes, you can turn around and look at the timer. That's absolutely fine with me. Eventually, we'll have tougher things that go into it. But for this first speech, if you need to turn around and see the timer, I'm okay with that one. And we'll get a chance to get to it. Let's see. So we have our no talking. We have there. Aside from, can I go first? Because I'll explain to how that works in a second. What other questions do you have? Holly, what's up?
Thank you. Are you going to tell the story about how you got arrested?
Right. Sam, what's up?
Will you use the different like terms of the word?
Absolutely. You can add EG, EGs, ING, EDs, S's, or EGs and just confuse people. But yeah, that's fine for me. Roger?
Does it have to be like a complete story, or can we just like start talking and rambling?
I mean, as long as your rambling is a story, then you should be okay. If not, then I just end up charging you the 3 points. If you just stand up there and just say random stuff, you just lose the 3 B points. Which for some of you, I mean, baby steps, that might be you're happy with it. And you're like, I stood up there and my mouth moved and sounds came out, that was a win. And in that case, then you're probably happy with it. But in order to get the B points and not lose them, you have to actually tell a story.
But does there have to be like an ending?
No. Because for some of you, you're not going to, because you'll be part with your story when the 45 seconds goes off, and that's fine. I mean, as long as you were in the process of telling a story, winning. Jesse?
Can you have your hands behind your back?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I mean, don't put the handcuffs on. That makes it weird, but you're fine. Saganish.
Okay, like, are you allowed to like laugh or anything while you're sitting, or can you like make no noise?
While you're sitting
Yeah.
in the audience, just don't be distracting. I mean, they're going to be somewhat amusing, and you're going to have some giggling. But if you're the kid that's just laughing and being distracting, then we'll have problems with it. But, I mean, I'm not a complete hater. I'm just trying not to have a kid die in front of us. Jackson?
If you've already like said your word, can you put it in a list and you not scream?
Yes.
Okay.
If you've already said your word outside the list, I'm okay with that one. And as we do this, you're going to find out some people are really good at abusing the system and they're going to outsmart you. That's okay. That's what happens when people are smarter than you. And they're going to find ways to work the word in there and you'll be like, what? Because I have had kids in the past who would just stand there for like the first 8 seconds and just go, dinosaur. Dinosaur.
Oh, dinosaur.
Dinosaur. So one day there was a fairy walking down the street and you're like, oh my god, is it dinosaurs? And they're like, till like the last 30 seconds is a whole story. You're like, and you have no, and they're like, oh my god, they're a cheat. So there's ways of abusing the system. But for now, for many of you, not dying is your abuse of the system. Yes.
Are we allowed to sing a song?
As long as we can hear the words.
Sweet.
And Joey.
Okay. When it's 45 seconds, if you accidentally go over, will you stop us?
I stop you automatically.
Okay.
As soon as you hit 45, I go, hey, you're done, good job. And you're like,
And
you stop
everybody
talking.
claps.
No, not to the very end. All right, so now we're going to pause and then come back in a moment. So hang on. 5 seconds.
It's the
But it'll definitely, time back in. Definitely be somewhat entertaining, I hope. Fine. I was not always the suave speaker that you see in front of you today.
Wow.
When I was in junior high, And through the beginning of high school, I was the shy, quiet kid that did my best to sit in the back of the room. Oh, yeah. And not talk to anybody.
That's a lie.
This form that you see, this did not come out until late high school, and that's a story I tell you at the end of the year. We'll get there eventually. But younger me, not outgoing whatsoever. And I can remember giving 2 speeches that made an impression on me. One was in junior high, but it's not as good of a story. It was just slightly embarrassing, not a fun one. The second one is the story you're going to want. Because this was my freshman year. So I was in 9th grade, first year of high school. I had just gotten put into advanced English for the first time ever. It was my first advanced class ever. We took like a test in 8th grade. And they're like, you should be in advanced English. I'm like, there's smart kids. And they're like, that's you. Like, whatever. And so I was in my first advanced class, which was English, with a bunch of really intimidating smart kids. But I was doing my best and trying to hold my own. And at the beginning of the year, we had to give a speech, like in the first 9 weeks. And it had to be what was called a persuasive speech, where you find a topic and you try to convince other people about whatever topic it is you choose. I chose animal testing, and the fact that we should not test things on animals, like little bunny rabbits and stuff like that. And that was what I was going to try and convince the rest of the class about. I remember, like, with the animal testing part, it was like, and this is horrific, but with little bunny rabbits, to test eye makeup, to find out if it's going to, like, irritate humans' eyes, they test them on the rabbits first. But to test them on the rabbits, they remove the rabbits' eyelids, and then they smear makeup on their eyeballs because they can't blink, and then they wait to see what the reaction is to figure out how it affects things. And that's how they figure out how eye makeup, whether it's going to hurt you or not. I know, horrific. Felt the same way. I was like, great, who's not going to disagree with me here? And so when I gave this speech, it was in class. My teacher was nice because we got to like be behind a podium with like note cards and stuff like that. But there was a girl in class I had a crush on. A girl by the name of Joanna. And Joanna didn't really know who I was because shy, quiet kid in the back of the room. Joanna, not the shy, quiet girl. But I had built this up in my mind that this speech was going to be the turning point. And that after I gave this speech, I was going to do so well at it, she was going to be like, oh my God, that speech was so good. We should go out. And I'm like, yes, we should. Because that's what you do when you just commit yourself to things. Like, this is going to be the greatest speech ever.
Okay.
So I get into the speech, standing up now. Oh, Joanna, by the way, sat in the front row. Like, right in front of me.
Oh
like,
my God.
it felt like I was giving the speech to her, like, kind of thing. And so I'm like, nailing this one. And so giving the speech, going through it, things are going well. I got past the little bunny rabbit thing, looking around the class. They're not really paying attention, but I don't really care. There's only one person I really cared about. And she was only kind of paying attention. I was like, it's all right. I'm getting to my big information later. And I got to the part about veal. Veal, if you don't know, is a type of steak. If you go out to a restaurant, it's the super expensive steak. Like veal parmesan is like a big thing. It's got the super tender meat and it's really delicious, full of flavor. Found out how they make veal. Veal is made from baby cows. Not just baby cows. It's what they do to the baby cows to get the extra flavor into it.
Oh, no.
It's as
Please
soon as
don't
the
tell me.
baby cow's born and it pops out, they take the cow and they put it into a cage. The cage is smaller than the cow, so it can't stand up. So it's always laying down. Then they give it a feeder tube like you do with gerbils. And they feed it and pack it full of food, and it essentially becomes a big cow balloon, which means it can't run around, gets really fat full of meat, and it stays really tender because no exercise. Gives it all the flavor. But it's horrific. I was getting to that part of my speech, and I felt like a really strong puncher because, I was getting there. Got to that part, flipped to the next note card, and my note cards had stuck together. So my next one was not the right note card. So I have that freak out moment of like, and like I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, well, maybe no one notices. And I'm like flipping back and forth, like, all right, you can like stay cool, you got this, stay cool. And I look up as I'm going through it, trying to figure out the right card, and I make eye contact with Joanna. I'm like, how's she taking this whole thing? And she yawns. Not a small yawn, like a like that kind of, and I'm like, holy poo. Not only am I not nailing this, I'm putting the girl to sleep. The complete opposite of what I wanted to do. It broke me.
Did you cry?
I started getting... I started to get like teary. I started to cry right there. Because it was I couldn't figure out where I was going, and the girl I was trying to impress was yawning. And then I'm like, that inner monologue. I'm like, are you crying? Like, I'm like, no, stop crying. Then I'm like, stop crying. And it just made me cry more. And I'm like, oh. Then I found the right card. I'm like, all right, we can push through. And then I'm like, and then we have the veal. And then I'm like, well, crap, what do you do now? Do you either, like, I look up, I'm like, well, maybe no one noticed. Like, maybe they're getting away with it. And I look up, the whole class, like, their eyes are huge. And I'm like, yep, no, they noticed that. So then I have the option. A, just run out of the room. Like, I can just flee, that's always an option. Or B, push through and just pretend you're not crying, and maybe they'll pretend you're not crying too. So I went with option B. So I decided just to push through. So I did. I was like, and so we have the veal and the thing, and they're in little cages, and they can't move. And I just keep going through it, and I got done in the speech, and like I stack up the little cards, like, tick, 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 and I'm like, and walking to my seat. I just like walk back, and the whole class like stares at me as I walk by. I'm like, if I don't see them, they can't see me. If I don't see them, they can't see me. And I go and I sit down, and I'm sitting next to my friends, and I can tell like they're just staring at me. So I'm just like looking at my cards, like maybe there's no information there. And they go, oh my God. I'm like, uh-huh. They go, that was amazing. I went, what now? They're like, I can't, they're like, I don't even care about my subject, and you started crying about yours? And I was like, I mean, cows. They thought I was so worked up about my topic that was why I started to cry. I ended up getting an A on that speech. One of the only speeches I ever got an A on, and it was not because I cared desperately about the subject. I mean, I cared desperately about the subject. It was just Joanna. That was not the way it went. I didn't tell a single kid in high school through graduation why I cried that day. And they brought it up years later. Like, when I became much more outgoing and I would give a speech, like, you remember your freshman year? When you're like, yeah, I remember my freshman year. Arrest me. And it wasn't until I became a teacher and I had kids freaking out, and they're like, I can't give a speech. I'm like, you'll do fine. Like, no, you're good at talking. I'm like, I didn't used to. Like, whatever. And I'm like, what's the worst that happens? Like, I cry in front of the class. I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, yeah, I'm like, actually, I have a story. And so I told that story. Like, are you kidding? I'm like, nope, that's what actually happened to me. And so that is my, no matter how bad you think it's going, it could be worse story. Last year, I was impressed by one of my students. I had a girl in one of my advanced classes who was a great kid. I talked to her all the time. We had interactions. She raised her hand. Did not see this coming. She hated standing in front of the class giving speeches. Stood up there for the first speech and just started crying. Like, just hands down. She was like, I hate giving speeches. I'm like, you'll be fine. And she got just like, okay. And just started crying. And I was like, whoa! Threw me off. She's like, I can do it. So she like took a break, stepped down, stepped back up, went through her whole speech crying. I mean, and just like cried the whole time. We're just like staring at her. Got done. Did every speech that way. The next 5 speeches, just crying. She just get up and she's like, are we ready? We're like, we're ready. She's like, okay.
Get the fuck in.
So one day, and she was just like, I was like, wow. That girl, I mean, I got lucky and everyone thought it was for a reason. She womaned up and just gave a speech through tears every time. 19 years. 19 years of teaching, I'd never seen that before. And I was like, kid, that's impressive. Because you knew you were going to cry and went through it anyway. So, I've seen it happen. I've seen kids push through it. It was pretty impressive. Yes. No, it was not. Good try. In that class, but different kid. Yes.
Lily Williams.
That was not her. I'm not going to tell you who it wasn't them. But no more guessing in case you actually say who it was. But I like her. Anyway.